Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being at the webinar with us. Today we'll be covering what automated functional testing can do for your CCC. So we'll get started already. We're already 1:01, and I'm hoping this webinar will probably take about 45 minutes. So thank you all for being here. We'll look at our agenda for today. We'll meet the presenters. Then we'll move on to who NuEcho is, high level, and where NuBot plays within our corporate strategy. We'll look at a case study of one of our current clients, the benefits of automated functional testing. We'll review some pricing on the NuBot platform with regard to our functional testing subscriptions. We'll look at the path to testing automation, some of our functional testing features that are in our roadmap, and then we'll cover some question and answers. So let's get started. My name is Stephanie Quinn, and I'm the Director of Marketing here at NuEcho. I helped rebrand NuBot and bring it to market last year, which includes our testing services and the solution and platform itself. And I'm joined with Pascal Deschênes, our Chief Technology Architect. He's a partner here at NuEcho, and he's the creator of NuBot. I know a lot of you who are online now, current clients will know Pascal. He's very much involved with the product intensely, working with a lot of our clients on the roadmap and where it's going with the future, because it's really you guys who sets the tone for the platform. So we'll look just quickly at NuEcho for any people who are joining us who aren't familiar with who the company is. We have three main practices. The first one is our contact center consulting practice, and it is our largest practice of the three. We then have our speech applications and tuning practice, and this one really is where the company has started and gained a lot of its experience in the beginning. And then we have our automated testing and monitoring platform, and that's why we're here today. So why are we so focused on testing and monitoring? It really is part of everything we do and have done since our beginnings. The company was launched in 2002, and NuBot was created in 2004. So right now we're looking at about 12 years of experience with the platform. It's obviously evolved since that time. But why was that platform created? Because at the time there weren't other testing platforms available on the market. So we built it and used it to ensure that the deployments we were doing for clients and that the applications that we were developing were functioning as we wanted them to, giving that element of quality assurance. In 2016, we did commercialize the product because more and more of our clients wanted to be able to use it themselves. So we brought it to market and gave those clients and prospects access to the tool that we had been using for those years. This slide's just quick to demonstrate that today we're going to be talking specifically about functional testing and our self-service subscriptions in the platform, but NuBot does also allow for load testing and monitoring. So we really do cover the entire system life cycle. Any type of testing and monitoring you're looking to do, NuBot can do. So today, again, we're going to be focusing specifically on the functional testing element. So we're just going to do a quick poll before we get started. So how invested are you currently in automated functional testing? If you guys can all just take a little moment to place your votes. I'll just give it another second. I can see everybody's still putting votes in. Okay, so we're going to close the poll. So as it stands right now, there's about 50% of you on this webinar today that don't do automated functional testing, and about another half of you that do some manual testing and some automated testing. So hopefully by the end of this webinar, we'll convince you that automated functional testing is the way to go. This case study that I wanted to share with you guys, I'm not going to read through this slide, but speak a little bit to a typical client experience with us. This was specifically a government agency. They contacted us, and the way that we started working with them was really through a turnkey testing project. So they had an emergency, and they obviously wanted us to start working on the project right away. They didn't necessarily have the time to train their teams, so we went in and managed the project from A to Z. And while we were doing the project itself, the client wanted to have access to see the results that we were getting, which is possible because the product itself is cloud-based. So we gave them access so that you could see the results. And one of the big benefits of NuBot today is that it's so user-friendly. So as soon as the clients got a view of the interface, they really started to question, gee, moving forward, we'd like to become more familiar with the platform, and have now moved into the functional, automated functional testing realm with a subscription, because the interface really is not intimidating. So this isn't really unique to government. A lot of our clients call us because there's a very real issue happening. So they want us to come in and resolve that issue. And then once they're familiar with the platform and have seen it, they usually want to get into the testing platform themselves. Again, we just wanted to show a few testimonials from our clients. I think these two quotes specifically, again, speak to our positioning in the market. NuBot is all about providing core testing and monitoring functionality, and we build on advanced features based on our clients' needs. There's a big value element to that, and our competitors' approaches are a little bit different than that. And the second quote really touches on the idea of the performance of the platform itself. We're talking today about functional testing, but the platform is also used for load and performance testing. And because of that, we've been able to work with some large telecom companies and literally work to push their systems to the max. So you know that even when you're doing your functional testing, you're choosing a platform that has what it takes to go as far as you'd like in testing in terms of performance. So I'm going to hand off to Pascal to speak a little bit to the benefits of testing.
All right, on to me. So I'm sure at this stage we all agree about the benefits of testing in general, where the two main benefits are mostly quality and compliance, where for quality, we try to detect issues and defects sooner while reducing the maintenance costs. As a side product, we increase customer satisfaction and experience. And then onto compliance, is the actual implementation is in line with the business requirement at stake. So those are the main two benefits of any kind of testing, and I'm sure you'll all agree with that. Now onto the automated functional testing. What we have is a few more benefits that add on top of the general benefit that comes from testing in general. So what we have first is we save time and money. Regression testing being part of the application life cycle. So you go into testing, you go into regression testing for all the kind of new features that you might deploy, bug fix, component upgrade, and so on. So you have to test all that. And if you go the manual route, then it takes so much time, so it's really time consuming. Automation shrink that time, so it's more faster to execute your test and so on. And then again, time is money and so on. And then it gives you the ability to increase your test coverage. Since the automation shrink execution time, that means that you can spend more time increasing the test coverage. That is, creating more test cases and all that, because you have more free time to do so. And then it will, as a side effect, increase accuracy and consistency as opposed to manual testing, where manual testing is kind of a tedious task. I don't have any statistics to back my claim, but I'm sure that testing on a Friday afternoon is probably weaker than on a Monday morning. So, but on the automation side, the automation bot will test and execute tests tirelessly, and you can throw tests at it and will test without any blink. As it does so, it will gather metrics that will be part of any kind of non-functional requirement. It will also, as a side effect, increase collaboration, where you can have your dev team part of this automation life cycle, where you have the dev team actually launch tests prior to do the actual delivery onto the QA team. So that being one. So you're closer to the actual development where you find the fix, and that's where you want to be when you find fix, closer to development, so it costs less. And then QA team can then easily report those defects once they do their round of testing, report back into the dev team through whatever issue tracking they might be using. So just add information into that is collected by the automation tool. And then you get round-the-clock testing capability. That is, you can launch tests outside normal business hour, which cannot be done with manual testing. So that's a good thing. So if you have, for instance, nightly builds, you can fire up testing that nightly builds right away at midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning, and then get back to work in the morning and inspect the actual result coming out of this. And then once you have your test project for functional testing, that means that you're really available to do performance testing. So you get closer to that load testing, performance testing, stress test, and all that by reusing the actual test project that you come up with as part of your functional testing. So let me throw you a number right away. So a recent study from Forrester bring back that functional testing automation adoption rate is about 45%. Again, I don't have any number to back that up, but I'm pretty sure, given that where our industry is coming up, that number is probably much lower in the contact center industry. So my question will be, why is that so? On to next poll.
Poll number 2. Let me just load it up for everybody. Here we go. So what is stopping you from moving toward automated testing? Is it the cost and budget, the time, awareness, or something else? So I'll give you guys another couple seconds to just put in your answers. All right, here we go. So we're going to close up that poll, get your last votes in. So let's share some of those results. So it does look like the cost and budget seems to hit everybody. So we are going to discuss about the pricing a little bit later on in this presentation. And I believe Pascal should be discussing that time and awareness. We kind of already touched on part of it, and you're going to see some other features as we move forward that'll deal with those other things. So maybe we'll move forward the presentation. I'd like to also just mention, if anyone has any questions along the way, I know everyone is on mute, but feel free to use that questions box as we go, and we'll answer any of those as we proceed in the webinar.
So just this slide is just to give you a few pointers to guide you through your automation journey as you proceed into the automation world of functional testing or any kind of testing automation, as a matter of fact. So the first key thing is to set the expectation right. So by that, I mean, if you want to aim for 100% automation rate, that's probably unreasonable to achieve. First, that will be a lot of work, obviously, and as we see, some people are constrained by time. And second, the last mile might be very, very expensive. That is, the closer you get to the 100%, you won't get the correct ROI onto that, because the gain you have from automating that part is not that much compared to the actual investment that you have to bring in there. So good automation rate might be somewhere in between 40 and maybe 80%, but onto the next pointer or wisdom, you should aim for an incremental approach. That is, start with, let's say, 10% automation, which is still 10% an increase over full manual process, right? So you can start from there and move on toward an higher automation rate. So as the team progresses, it will learn and will adapt and so on. And then on to the next word of wisdom, you want to start where you can actually maximize the payback. So you want to aim for test case with the highest reward. For instance, you might want to invoke test case that implies critical components, for instance, or generic modules that are used throughout your IDR application, such as date and time capture, or yes/no question, or maybe dialogue error recovery and for no match, no input, and so on. That would also cover the automation steps that are required for any kind of access to the IDR. I'm speaking about, customer ID and PIN password, for instance. So you might want to automate that part. And then you will build from there. You might be interested in also creating test case for a specific area of the application where you have where the defects are tending to cripple in. That is, that's where all those bugs are coming from and all that. So you want to maybe start from there, so that every time you do a release, those bugs are actually addressed by the coverage of your test cases. And then you might at some point consider either one at the start of a project or sometime later, once you have learned a bit more, going through some sort of automatic bootstrap, where if your organization has actually formalized how to define an application specification, either through a visual flowchart or some Word document with a formal specification, then you might want to consider converting that document, that source of truth, into test case that will be readily available within your whatever tool, automation tool that you might be interested in using. So we have worked quite a lot on the product this year. We have made so far 2 releases. We try to do 1 release per quarter and tend to go much quicker than that. But otherwise, we did some features, including outbound testing capabilities, caller ID overrides, some enhancement at the monitoring level, and so on. But I would like to take the opportunity to present you 2 of those features today. So one of such features is the data-driven scenario, which was the top 1 most requested feature from our customer base. So you guys are, as a vote into how we actually go with the roadmap, how we actually implement feature, and what's our priority. We like to get input from you guys, so you can always chime in and see where we are going and what should be our priority. And that one was the first one. So data-driven scenario is the ability to specify a data source of input for the execution of a given scenario. So let's say a typical one is you have a list of customers with pairs of customer ID and PIN password, and those ones will be used as part of the scenario execution. So every time you execute a given scenario, it will pick one pair coming out of that data source that is attached to the scenario and run with it as a dynamic value from a scenario action. So that's one main feature that we recently developed. Another cool feature that we actually developed is scenario composition, or scenario aggregation, or scenario partial, whatever you name it, we call it scenario composition. So it's the ability to reuse or import any given scenario as part of another scenario. So we start with a typical use case for that. Again, login with customer ID and PIN password that is used throughout your test project. So every steps of the way that you want to, every test case that you want to implement will require those customer ID and PIN password. So you extract that into its own scenario that you would call something like customer login or customer identification, and then you will reuse that very scenario into any other scenario that you might be interested in. So the way it works is you simply, from the recent menu on the left side, you just drag that scenario into this other scenario for reusability, and then you can click onto that scenario and so on. So those are the two exciting new features that we have actually recently launched in the 4.6 release that is available right now.
So maybe I'll stop you right now too. If anyone would like a full copy of our release notes, those are always available as well if there's other features you didn't know were there. So for any of our current clients that are on the line, if you didn't notice what they were, then please don't hesitate to contact us, and we'll send out those release notes so you have all of our features that have been released in 2016 and halfway through the year this year.
So on to some of the features that we'd like to implement in the next few quarters. Just to give you a heads up onto those features, as Tiffany mentioned, we have this very large product backlog and roadmap where we try to capture feedback from our customer, and we try to implement those and plan for those and subsequent release and all that. So as we speak to you as a potential customer or as an actual customer, it gives you the ability to influence our roadmap, and so we can set the course properly regarding those features. But as it goes right now, one of such features is called NuBot Reveal, which is basically automatic IVR path discovery that can be used for documentation purposes of any existing IVR. So what it does is it actually dials into an IVR and tries to drive automatically the show while interacting with the IVR, pressing keys for a specific menu, going down the IVR path to explore all the menus within the IVR and capture all that information, for one, generating the documentation, and for two, generating the actual test project that can then be reused as part of any kind of regression testing afterward. So one typical use case for that is, obviously, if you already have your documentation and the famous source of truth documentation for your IVR, it's not probably something that you might be looking to. But if you start afresh with a given IVR, that means that you probably don't know what's in it. So you'd like a tool that will actually dig into this IVR application and report the information out of it, so you can know on which ground you actually stand with regards to this IVR application. So it's already codenamed NuBot Reveal, and we are aiming for that in Q4 this year. So if you have any specific question regarding this very feature, please do not hesitate to share any questions through the chat. And then comes another big deal is omnichannel testing. So omnichannel is all the rage right now. So it's more than just multi-channel. Omnichannel is the ability to fully have the integration of multi-channel into one single customer journey across all those channels, all those unified channel into a unified experience. So a typical case will be a user starts journey from the web, and then at some point it fires a callback into with a call with an agent with the user, and then at some point it might be a transfer into a self-service IVR and so on, and then a thank you note with an email or maybe a chat session and whatnot. So the idea is for multi-channel or omni-channel testing is to have this capability within NuBot itself. So right now NuBot is mostly focused on voice channel, but we are expanding onto the multi-channel and omni-channel realm, where just as an FYI, we have this innovation lab at NUECO where we build technology that will help drive the future of any technology adoption within while we deal with customers through our consulting practice. And we want to bring the AI, the chatbot, and whatnot, and everything that is related to multi-channel and omni-channel is driven by this initiative. And obviously, as being free of testing, we want to, quality is part of our DNA. So we want to make sure that everything that we do is thoroughly tested and good quality and all that. So we have no choice but develop the technology that will surround the testing of all the omni-channel initiatives that we have, so that this technology is bring back into the NuBot platform for your own interest, so that if you have projects involving multi-channel, that will be in there. So we are speaking about integrating the various channel test cases, including the chat. We would like to get in video as well, email, and SMS, obviously. Next, and again, if you have any question regarding that very specific feature, you have a project regarding that, you would like to get us on board with that very project, we'd be glad to work with you on that. Next feature involves what we call automatic test case generation. It actually ties into the tips I gave a few slides back, where one specific area that might be of interest if you're starting in automation is how could we actually generate or import a test project from a visual document or from a Word document that is clearly defined and so on. So how can we actually import that into a NuBot test project? So this is something that we want to bring that as a onboarding feature within NuBot. So it's just a few clicks and you can import your visual document and whatnot. Right now what we do is we do that as a PS service with our customers. So we try to help them in creating that importation process or that test case generation process with them. But we'd like to have something that is more generic, and that will also hook into creation environments such as Genesis Composer, Interactive Intelligent Architect, or Nuance Application Studio. So this is something that might be quite interesting to work in 2018. Yeah, so next year. On to next slide.
All right, so we're getting to that point where we'll discuss some of our pricing. For sure, even from the poll, we saw that idea of budgets and costs kind of come into play. When organizations are looking to automation, automation can sound like a scary word, oh, it's going to be expensive, let's just keep doing our testing manually. So let's just explore high level what NuBot and NuEcho offers in terms of our self-service subscriptions. So we have two subscription packages that we promote online. This isn't private information, you can find it on our website. The two main packages, one of them is branded under business and the other one is enterprise. You can get access to the platforms for functional testing from anywhere from $4,000 a month to $10,000 a month. So teams can get onto NuBot for $48,000 US per year. They are 12-month commitments. What we find with some of our clients is that if it's a hard sell at first, we do offer 3-month POCs for our self-service subscriptions. So there's a 3-month commitment for the POC and you don't have to buy in for the 12 months. We prove that the system works and can save you time and energy and provides that reliability of testing. It also kind of reduces the risk associated with change management. Oh, a new system, how easy is it to learn? We provide the same assistance hours, so you gain access to testing experts like Pascal and his team who will walk you through, do some remote training, answer questions. That base package starts at 4,000 minutes per month. But what we do is when you start with a business subscription, you have access to all of your minutes at once. So if you do have some development underway and you have 1 month that's more heavily, requires more investment in terms of minutes, no problem. The platform is flexible. And once you have the base subscription model, if you ever need additional minutes, need additional hours of support, you can supplement any of the packages from there. We also offer some training. I didn't get into the training pricing, but we do offer remote training classes and or on-site training. So if those are of interest to anyone, that is available. And we have a new feature that's going to be coming soon. Those of you who are familiar with our platform know that we have NuBot ping monitoring. The monitoring and the functional testing have always been separate up until now. But in the next couple of weeks, we'll be launching a monitoring feature, which will be able to kind of turn on from your functional testing subscription and work off of your scenarios and whatnot. So that's what we're talking in terms of pricing. I don't know if anyone had any questions, but I don't see any so far, so we'll move to the next slide. So Pascal touched on just a few of our features that we have on our roadmap. For sure, there are many more features that we have. So after today's webinar, we will be reaching out and providing access to some of our documentation with regards to the functional testing, load testing, and our monitoring. And if anyone is interested in lining up a meeting for full elaboration on what is included currently in our roadmap, we'd be happy to do that. So that concludes our webinar. I'm going to just look and see for a couple of questions. And if anyone has any additional ones, please don't hesitate to write some in the question window. I have one here that says, how long does it take to be autonomous with NuBot? Pascal?
So it really depends on the investment you're ready to do, obviously, but we have seen users getting started with the interface and writing their first test cases or scenario, as we call them, within a day. So usually how it goes is we do a typical demo. We are on also for formal training or workshop where it's a one-day formal training where we go into all the nitty details of using the interface, how to create projects, how to create test cases or scenarios, how to actually launch those, analyze the results, and all that. So this is a one-day training session. But otherwise, if you go into onboarding new user to your actual organization account, is typically a matter of a few hours. So you go into, we have a simple project that you can play with, an actual IVR that you can dial into. So there's not much involved in there. So you can really start playing with the interface and writing your first test case. And right away, launching a test is just one click away. There's a sort of a launch button that will fire your test, and then off you'd be ready to inspect the actual results. So it should be quite easy to get user on board that interface.
Okay, so I just got another question. Leandra wanted to know whether it's using an on-premise. So is there a difference on the learning curve with regards to the cloud version versus the on-premise?
So we have actually 3 deployment models with the platform. One of which is on-premise, where we install the actual infrastructure within your own premises. For any reason you have security concern and whatnot. Or you use the full multi-tenant hosted one, or somewhere in between we have something that we call the hybrid, where we move one component onto your premises, namely most likely the telephony layer, so where we do the telephony connectivity that could go into your own premises, but otherwise everything is pretty much the same. So if you're into on-premises solution or option, what adds up to the actual training is half a day of administration and operation of the platform itself, how the services are set up, and how you can find logs and whatnot. So this is part of the half-day training.
So again, that was kind of the additional question came when it was dealing with features. So if anyone chooses the on-premise solution versus the cloud, obviously the cloud solution has live updates of all of our features as it goes. If someone chooses to go with a more private cloud type solution versus full on-prem, what would be the differences for the upgrades for features?
Yeah, so one other deployment option that we have is what we call the private cloud. So so the hosted solution is divided in 2, private cloud or multi-tenant public cloud. So if you're into public cloud or the standard multi-tenant, you get the new feature right away. If you're into if you're into private cloud, that means that we actually manage the platform for you. But this is your own dedicated instance. So we have to coordinate, and that's what we typically do. We coordinate with the end customer. When should we actually update the platform so there's no hiccup in terms of integration and all that.
So if they're dealing with a full on-premise, then with the same thing, we'd end up doing contacting the client. We have these mass features to upgrade, and then we'd be able to send those feature updates to them to actually bring it up to speed on-premise.
That's right.
Amazing. We have time maybe for one more question. What are the languages that NuBot supports for the prompt recognition?
So interesting question. As part of the functional testing, we are most of the time have to deal with multiple language. In the US, maybe English and Spanish. In Canada, French and English. And some other country involve Cantonese, Mandarin, and whatnot, Arabic. And so how many languages do we support? We are actually language agnostic as far as prompt recognition goes. So we can recognize, because of the technology that we use to actually do prompt recognition or prompt validation, we are by definition language agnostic. Just to give you a quick heads up on how it works, if you're familiar with Shazam, it works pretty much the same thing. That is, Shazam has this big library of songs. You play back a song to it and then try to recognize that very song. So NuBot works pretty much the same way. So you import the prompt from your IVR, and then as you specify your test case, you actually specify the prompt. So we don't inspect the actual content of the prompt, we just extract audio feature coming out of it. That means that it will work with any language, but not only that, it will also work with music and whatnot. So that's interesting to know.
Okay, amazing. Well, look, we don't want to take any more time. We've hit our 40-minute timeline. So if anyone does have any questions, again, we will be reaching out in the next little bit, probably by Monday with the webinar recording. So if there's any members of your team who weren't able to attend, we will send that along, as well as some additional documentation on NuBot. And for sure, if anyone has any questions or anything at that point, please don't hesitate to reach out. We look forward to potentially working with you guys in the next little bit. Thank you.
Bye-bye.